All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the CEO Story, and we've got a really interesting person on today. We've got Elizabeth Yang, who's the CEO and founder of quite the unique law firm, Yang Law Offices. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, for joining us. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me here, Casey. Doing great.
Great. We're really excited to have you because you've got such a unique background, and I love the way your mind thinks. So I want to definitely explore that with people. So let's start off with, can you just give us a high-level overview, and then we can dig into some details?
Absolutely. So I actually started off my career as an electrical engineer and computer scientist, and I shifted careers into law. And I started off as an intellectual property law attorney, and then through the years, there's some different obstacles, ended up specializing in family law, which is probably about 70 to 80% of our practice currently.
All right, so there's lots of twists and turns along the way.
Lots of twists and turns, yes.
Let's get into them, and we'll kind of see how the journey unravels. So
sounds good.
Let's start at the beginning. You went to school and you studied, what did you study?
I went to Walnut High School, went to UC Berkeley.
Yeah, great school.
Thank you. Studied electrical engineering and computer science. After I graduated, during college, I interned at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab.
So that's pretty cool, right? We've got the little astronaut up there at the back.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So how did that come about? Because that's like, not everybody gets to intern with NASA. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was super amazing. I got to work on the Mars Exploration Rover, which ended up successfully landing on Mars. And the people there were amazing. The facilities were amazing. I got to, work with the most cutting edge technology advancements into space. So that was a great experience.
I love space. My face just lights up every time we talk about space and everything to do with like the star system and all that. So
yeah,
it's just intriguing to me. But what made you initially go into that field?
It's funny. I grew up with a tiger mom who, it's all about academics, getting straight A's, studying.
Typical Asian family.
Typical Asian family. And when I was applying for college, I hadn't really found my identity, because my whole life was just formed by my tiger mother. And so she told me to apply for electrical engineering and computer science.
So you're just being a good girl and following what mom said.
Following what mom says. I didn't really know what I wanted. I probably might have gone in undeclared. I knew I was good in math and science, and one of her friends, I was Walnut High School class of 2000. So 2000, that was the Silicon Valley.com boom. Her friend's son graduated, got a job immediately in Silicon Valley in the engineering field. So she's like, if you go into this field, you're guaranteed a job out of college.
So she was just looking out for you and wanting you to have a good job.
Exactly, yeah. And I was like, I don't have any other interests, so sure, electrical engineering, why not? And there's very few women in electrical engineering.
Well, I was going to get to that point. I'm guessing you're going to be in classroom with a load of nerdy guys that are really good at math.
Exactly. Yeah. The ratio at Berkeley was 12 men to every woman. So it was like 2 women in our whole class, 2 or 3 women, just a handful.
And then you graduated, and then you went into law. So how did all that come about? Because you were working with Raytheon as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So after college, I started working for Raytheon, the government defense company.
Yeah, I got a few friends over there.
Oh yeah? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we got to work on really cool projects. One of them was the B-2 bomber radar system. So we got to go visit the facilities inside the government. Got a secret clearance back in the day. If someone asked me, what do you do? I would have to say, I have to kill you if I tell you.
Like James Bond over here.
Yeah, exactly. And then, being Asian and, being raised by a tiger mom, I knew I couldn't just stop at a bachelor's.
Wasn't enough.
It wasn't. Bachelor's is not enough. Typical. Yeah, you have to get higher education. It's either a master's or JD, MBA, PhD, whatever it is. I knew I didn't want to continue engineering. I didn't want to get a master's in engineering. So I decided to get my JD and MBA.
Okay.
And it wasn't for the purpose of switching careers. I wasn't planning on becoming an attorney. I just wanted to learn about our legal system and learn about the business world. So I was planning on staying at Raytheon as an engineer, and the opportunities arose after I got my degrees. My coworker's neighbor was a partner at a big IP law firm, and he introduced us, and that's when I found out how high in demand attorneys with engineering backgrounds were. I had no clue that there were so many engineers that went into IP law.
Yeah, we were talking about this off air. But
Yeah.
Can you just explain to people the difference between passing the regular bar exam and then the IP bar exam?
Yeah, so every state has a bar exam, right? The California bar exam is one of the toughest bars to pass. So you got to pass the bar to be an attorney. But there's a federal patent bar. That's for people who want to go straight into patents. And in order to qualify to sit for the patent bar, you have to have some kind of technical requirement, like, you know, a degree in engineering or physics or chemistry. And for those who majored in poli-sci or English or history, they have to go and take extra credits to qualify. So not everyone can sit for the patent bar.
And then in order to sit for the patent bar, do you have to pass the regular bar first, or can you go straight do that?
Great question. So people who pass the patent bar only without passing the regular bar or without going to law school, they become what's called patent agents.
Okay.
So you can be a patent agent without being an attorney, and you can still prosecute patent applications. You just can't litigate in court. People who just pass the regular bar become attorneys, and people who pass both become patent attorneys. So they can prosecute patents and they can litigate patents.
Got it. Okay, so there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. In the patent world, it's split into two realms. Litigation is when someone already has a patent and they want to defend it, you know, or they want to sue someone for infringement to assert their rights.
We're in America. So much of that happening.
So much of that happening, yeah. And the prosecution is where you help people obtain patents. You help inventors.
Got it. So it's both sides, creating and defending.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit in more detail on patents, because a lot of our clients have patents all over and we try and protect their assets the best we can. So there's many schools of thoughts within this world, whether you want to just have it in a shell corporation overseas and have it interact with nobody and nothing and just do licensing agreements into other entities.
Mm-hmm, yep.
And then there's the opposite of that as well, right? You could just have it here as part of an operating entity and take that risk. What are some of the best things that you would suggest on how to best protect your IP?
Yeah, so when someone obtains the patent, there's so many ways to monetize. You can license it, do an exclusive license, or license it to multiple entities, or there's what's called patent trolls, like the troll under the bridge. You know, they sit on the patent, they don't do anything with it, and then the minute other people start manufacturing their product or something similar, they just start sending out cease and desist letters and demand letters. Like, I own this patent, you can either fight me in court or pay up. You know, and then they start collecting. So one of my first cases that I worked on, that the troll that owned the patent, he owned the technology on all of the automated phone answering systems. When you call Chase, you know, like press 1 for this department, press 2 for this department. He owned all the patents. So he sued every company that had the automated telephone system.
Holy smoke.
Yeah, it's like thousands of defendants
Okay.
that had him set for life. You know,
So he won.
Yeah, because people don't want to litigate. You know, litigating a patent case is at least 6 figures. So if they're gonna settle for like $20,000, $50,000, they rather just pay up and settle rather than, you know, go through litigation, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars litigating, and at the end you might still lose. So
It's a big risk.
yeah,
So
there's
it's
a big
easier
risk.
just to settle out of court than go through the process unless...
Unless you're a big company, you know, like Apple and
But
Samsung.
Chase is a big company, right?
What's it?
Like, let's use Chase Bank as an example.
Yeah.
So they could have defended it if they thought they had a point.
Right.
Depends how clear his patent is and how clear the infringement is.
Yeah. Out of the thousands of defendants they sued, some settled and some didn't. The bigger corporations probably fought it out for a little bit. Maybe they dismissed the case, but a lot of the cases settled because they don't want to litigate.
So in terms of, let's just say you're starting with a blank sheet of paper and a client's got a patent, how would you suggest, or what are the top recommendations on how to protect that IP for a client?
So IP, there's different categories. Patents, which we've talked about, is only one category. There's also trademarks and copyrights, and there's trade secrets and other stuff as well. But patents specifically, there was a new law in 2013 called the America Invents Act, the AIA. Before the AIA came down, whoever comes up with the technology, who the inventor is, they have the rights to that technology. After the AIA came out, it turned from a first to protect to a first to file. So now they don't care who came up with the invention. It's whoever files the patent first, they're entitled to those rights.
Oh, wow.
So like, let's say if I'm an inventor and I don't protect and file a patent, and I tell you about my idea and you go and file a patent, it's going to be under your name because you're first to file.
So how does that work with, like the big tech companies? Let's use Google as an example.
Yeah.
So in certain departments within Google, they let their employees for 1 day a week invent stuff. And I'm sure they've got it in their contracts and stuff, but that invention is then owned by Google.
Yes. Usually with employment agreements where there's a company and an employee, the company's employment agreement will usually say all intellectual property that the employee invents while they're employed with us are owned by the company. Okay. So I actually did file for a patent when I was working at Raytheon, and Raytheon was very clear, this is our technology, not yours. You can be listed as the inventor, but the owner and the assignee of the invention is the company.
Got it. That makes sense.
So I can have bragging rights as the inventor, but I'm not going to be able to monetize on it.
Got it. That's cool. It's good to know, though, right? There's all these different subsets. And then let's kind of fast forward a little bit more, because then you went from having a pretty successful firm doing the IP stuff to then switching to estate planning and family law.
Yes.
So how did that all come about? Because this kind of gives a good example to people that you might start off in one field, but you probably ended up somewhere very different, and just the journey's going to transpire over the course of many years, and just to roll with that. But what were the key features about that pivot?
Yeah, so, as an attorney, you don't need to pass different exams to specialize in different fields. Once you get your law degree and you pass the bar, you can work in any field you want. You can be a criminal lawyer, you can be a bankruptcy lawyer. Some people think there's certain tests. No, there's no tests. You just, got to learn as you go.
So it's very different to, let's say, the medical profession. If you're going to do brain surgery, you got to do a fellowship and you got to go through residency and all this specialty type stuff.
Yeah.
But with legal, there isn't.
No, like if today I'm like, hey, I want to all of a sudden start specializing in bankruptcy law, then I can just do the research myself, start representing clients, and make sure I don't commit malpractice.
A little bit dangerous though, right?
It is, yeah.
You gotta then, I suppose it goes down to whoever you are vetting or to work with, you got to check their past record and history to make sure they're not an overnight specialist.
Exactly, yeah, look at their experience. So how I got into family law is in 2010, I filed for divorce. I was only married for a year and a half, but my divorce ended up taking 4 long years. And
what?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's crazy. It's easy to get married. I'm a California attorney, so I'm going to specify California. You can get married in 1 day, go and sign the license. But to get a divorce, the government makes it very difficult.
So what's the difference between, and again, I'm not being through this, so that's probably a good thing. What I've heard of an annulment.
Yes.
So what's an annulment versus a divorce, and what's the time differences and things?
Yeah, so annulment is to cancel out a marriage, and there's very few examples. It's difficult to annul a marriage. Usually it's because one of the two people, they're not in the right frame of mind. One was drunk, or they were under some kind
partying
of
in Vegas too.
Yeah, partying in Vegas. They didn't know what they were doing.
That's really where I got that.
I think Britney
from.
Spears did that. She got an annulment like a few days after she got married, so that can be annulled. Or let's say one of the parties was already married. They never disclosed that they were already married.
That's not legal marriage then, right? If
it's just the new marriage is not valid, so they can annul it.
Okay.
Yeah, or it was fraud. Maybe they were like trying to get married for immigration purposes. But other than that, all the other reasons are mainly divorce, because California is what's called a no-fault divorce date, which means you don't need to give a reason for divorce, and they don't place fault.
Why does it take 4 years to get done? That's like pretty ridiculous, right?
Well, number one, California has what's called a 6-month cooling down period. So if you want to get a divorce, even if both people agree, the government won't let you get divorced until at least 6 months
Sounds
have passed.
pretty ridiculous, right?
They want to, make sure both parties have cooled down. They don't want to be like, you guys fought, okay, divorce. Oh, the next day you get back together, then they're going to be processing so much paperwork. So 6-month cooling down period, and then you can get divorced. But there's so many issues. We had child custody. We had 2 kids during the 1.5 years that we were married. We're really quick.
Busy. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we had child custody issues. We had child support issues, alimony issues, division of assets and debts, and attorney fees. And or divorce is probably one of the nastiest possibles, because we ended up even filing restraining orders against each other.
Holy smokes.
Just because we were...
So it was a messy divorce.
It was very messy. I was emotional. I pissed him off. He got upset. We were both very competitive people, and we both wanted...
It's the tiger mom in you then, right?
I got influenced by my mother, yes, subconsciously. And we both wanted to what's called win. And in family law cases, what I've learned from my personal experience is there's no winner. In a civil case, there's a winner and a loser. The jury finds for one party. In a family law case, if you fight, it's a lose-lose. And I share this with my clients now after, going through my whole ordeal. If you fight till the end, because even if you divorce someone, you guys have kids together, you're going to be in each other's lives
the kids are the ones
forever.
that lose, right?
The kids are the ones that lose. They have parents who hate each other. And even though my ex-husband and I are divorced, we see each other for open houses, for birthday parties, for graduations. In the future, when their kids get married, we're going to be at the wedding. When they have kids, we're going to be grandparents together. So even though we're not legally married, we're tied at the hip for life.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so we ended up, after 4 years of litigation, firing our lawyers and sitting down, settling our case, and becoming great friends.
Holy smokes, is all I got to say about that. That's pretty awesome. I'm guessing you spent a lot of money on legal fees over...
Between the two of us, $500,000.
Holy.
Yeah, I started off with a $250 an hour attorney. He was at $350. Then I fired mine. I was like, you're not good enough to win against him. I got a $450 attorney, and then he upped me. I went through 5 different law firms during my 4-year divorce, and at the end, my final attorney was charging me $850 an hour. His attorney was charging him $1,000 an hour.
Yeah, mine are in the region of $1,000 to $1,500.
Yeah,
and it's just... You want the best, you've got to keep paying, right? And there's no shortage of amazing lawyers that just...
No shortage, no.
There's more lawyers than policemen, I think, was a stat that I saw. It's like, it's pretty crazy.
I think there's more lawyers in the state of California than there is in the entire country of China.
No way.
Yeah, and China's the size of the United States.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how many lawyers are here in our country. Yeah.
Wow. So, after 4 years and multiple legal firms, it was just resolved really easily by having a conversation.
Yeah, mediation and settlement outside of court. Yeah, we went from like having court hearings every other month to, forget the lawyers and judges.
Let's just figure it out.
Yeah,
you both wore each other down to the point at which you could compromise.
Yeah, we got the fight out of our system.
Get the ego out the way with, and let's do what's best.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good, because then you've learned that lesson the hard way, right? And then you can now put that into practice in business as well.
Yeah, they say challenges are blessings in disguise.
Absolutely.
So my 4-year divorce was my 4-year education in family law, because once I started getting that experience, my friends started coming to me. I need a divorce lawyer. Can you help me?
Oh, it's so common now. What's up to 50% of marriages?
70%.
70, wow.
Yeah, 70% of marriages end in divorce in Los Angeles. It's crazy.
Get the wedding registry list and away you go. Like, you've got clients for life at that point.
And the pandemic didn't make things better. The last few years during the quarantine, divorce rates have skyrocketed.
So do you think that's because people are spending too much time around each other and they're not used to it? So it's kind of getting on each other's nerves a little more than they usually would?
Absolutely. You either learn that you love spending the extra time or you can't stand that person and you pull the trigger.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, my wife and I, through the pandemic, didn't really have any issues. Like,
that means you guys were a great fit for each other. So
she's very patient. That's probably why. But,
yeah, I've been with my current husband. We're what's called socially married. You know, we can go into that later. But we've been together for 12 years, and we loved the extra time during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I kind of liked having more time with my wife. It was fun. And then you can mix up working from home and being in the spare room and then getting coffee and lunch together every day. I quite liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah. So I think once two people have survived the pandemic, you know you can get through anything.
It helps you go deeper, right?
Yeah.
So perfect. So then that helped you then pivot the company. And how did that pivot happen? Was it kind of an overnight thing? Hey, I've just released all this tension and burden over the last 4 years fighting this. I now know a great solution. And then other people see that around you as well. So they start coming to you and the workload just shifted? Or were you intentional about, I've been through this traumatic experience. 70% of other married people are going to go through this. And I just want to help them shorten that time from 4 years down to like 6 months or a year.
It was a natural flow. Okay. I will say, like, for my life, nothing has been really intentional. Okay. You know, going to engineering was not intentional. Becoming a lawyer was not intentional. I was just going with the flow. So transitioning and expanding into family law wasn't intentional either. The people just started coming to me with family law. I still serve the intellectual property world, so I still have patent agents on my team. We still do patents and trademarks, and we didn't cut that part off. But as family law expanded, we need another attorney. So now my team has like 12 attorneys, all family law based, and it's about 70 to 80% of our practice.
Wow, so that's awesome because I think you the way you said it was really nice. It was you just go with the flow. And all too often, you know, I've seen a lot of different entrepreneurs and the successful ones are more agile and they're able to pivot and kind of go with the flow. Whereas a lot of people just get caught up, hey, we only do this in this box and we're not willing to try anything right or left of center.
Yeah.
And they get caught up in that. So I'm really impressed with the way you can kind of just move and pivot and then expand the business as well. So let's talk about some of the issues that you faced in the business. So you mentioned that the intake conversation with people is a little bit tricky. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of solo practitioners probably face this issue. You know, when I started my business, I'm the main rainmaker. You know, people come to me because they trust me. We have a relationship. They want me to service them. As the team expands and now I'm actually doing more of the business side of things. I'm not the lawyer anymore. I'm the CEO, the owner, and I'm playing that business part. I don't really go to court anymore, for instance, you know, because if I go to court one day, who's going to be running the business? I'm going to have to hire a CEO. Yeah. So I have my attorneys doing the legal work. But as I'm expanding, I'm the main rainmaker. My attorneys, they love doing the legal work, but not all of them are rainmakers and they can't bring in the business. Yeah. So I found myself having to answer all of these intake calls and convert them to clients. And if I was just bringing enough cases for me to do, that's doable. If I'm bringing cases for maybe like 5-6 attorneys to do, I think that's doable. But now, like, as our firm is growing, I can't bring in cases to feed 20-30 attorneys.
There's a couple of things.
It's not
here,
scalable.
Right? Yeah, so Tony Robbins says this a lot, and for you guys that are listening, I'm a huge Tony fan.
I just came back from Tony Robbins' Life and Wealth Mastery in Fiji.
So you already know this then. So he talks about work on the business, not in the business. So in terms the way because I went through exactly the same thing that you described in my tax savings business, where we've grown so much, it's taken all of my time just being on potential client calls. Mm-hmm. I have to re-engineer this.
Yeah.
So the way we did it is just hired biz dev and sales teams and trained them, like literally took my brain, chopped it up into many different subsections and taught the team how to do it to the point at which now they can teach other team members how to do it and bring on new team members. And also maybe they won't close at the same rate that I would close at, because again, we've been there, done that with a brand. But if they can do it at 80% efficiency of what I could do, but then replicate me multiple times over, that effectively buys back my time. So that's how we've done that successfully. Again, it takes systems, processes, training, the right people, culture, all these other things that we then have to go and build and create that infrastructure so that people can succeed. So that was one of the things that
we're actually working on implementing EOS right now.
Oh, perfect. We already have EOS. Literally before we record this podcast, we did our level 10 weekly meeting.
Nice.
And it's like, I've seen it from being a CFO for so many companies work really well at some businesses and then not so well at others, and then hybrids of different things, whether it's OKRs or like different version of that. I personally love EOS. I think Gino did a good job. And then one of the intake things that we do with all staff is they have to read what the heck is EOS.
So we have that book circulating too. I see you have Traction on the wall right there.
Well, Traction's the heavy hitter version.
That's the main thing.
But everyone needs to read what the heck is EOS. Let's create your rocks. Let's create your plan. And I didn't do this in my business up until maybe the last couple of years, but I didn't really give culture the importance that it deserved. I was like, everyone will get it. It's fine. Let's just plow on. We want sales. We want operations. Let's just get it going and kind of steamroll the whole process.
Right.
But after reading books like that, and more importantly, implementing it, it becomes a self-perpetuating philosophy where the culture continues to grow, and we've kind of planted the seed of the culture, and then it's our job just to sprinkle a little bit of water on and let the plant flourish. And make sure that there's a piece of wood in and it's growing in the right direction. But each team member that comes in has to add and develop that culture as well. So I actually value culture so much more now than I did when I first started my business. To the point where any new hire, we sit down, we go through our core values, our focus, our principles. So, and you know, I took the principles from Ray Dalio, because it's like in his book, create your own key principles of your business. Mix that with EOS. So I'm taking like bits and pieces of things that just resonate with me and then integrating it into everyone.
That's amazing.
So we found a lot of success in that. And to the second point that we listed was managing the team. What have been some of the problems that you've faced with managing the team, and how have you overcame them?
Well, I think, like in any business, this doesn't have to be a law firm. The people, they're the main thing, managing the people. And if you bring in, great people, everything goes so smoothly. You bring in one bad person and everything goes downhill. So bringing the right people is really important. And, they say hire slow, fire fast. So that's something that I learned recently as well, because I've been very hesitant to let go of people. I'm like the type that wants to give everyone like another chance. Maybe they can change.
But EOS does a really good job of right people, right seats.
They have the whole matrix, So I love that. I'm learning about that too. I just had my husband quit his job last year. I've been trying to get him to become an attorney for the longest time. And I thought that was like the only way he can support a law firm if he also had a law degree. But he's a great litigator. And when he goes to court for his own cases, for traffic tickets or whatnot, he always wins. He's like a great arguer. But he's terrible with standardized tests. So he's like, I'm never going to pass the bar exam.
It's an intensive test, right? It's not easy.
It's tough. It was like the toughest test I've taken in my life. And he was doing what's called the legal apprenticeship program. So you study under a judge or an attorney for 4 years, and you don't have to go to law school. You can, after 4 years, go straight into taking the bar exam. So he was halfway through the legal apprenticeship program, and his background is HR. So he's got like 20 plus years of HR experience, not legal experience. But last year we finally decided. He left his job as an HR director of a bank, and now he's with the firm being the director of HR and operations. Okay. So the hiring
legal firm? Or just
at our law firm.
At your firm? Oh, so
yeah, we work together now.
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
We're a husband and wife duel.
How's that?
Yeah, it was challenging in the beginning. We have a great relationship coach, and she was able to coach us through the transition and facilitate the hiccups along the way. And now we love working together.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
So nice to have someone I can fully trust on my team. That's, he's in charge of onboarding, interviewing, bringing on the right people, and calling references, asking the right questions. Like, that's his forte.
Amazing.
So, yeah. So he's doing all the management of the people now.
I'm so glad that that's working well for you. How long has he been working with you?
It'll be almost a year. So
relatively new.
April, May of last year was when he started. Yeah, it's pretty new.
That's really cool. So that's interesting. We could do a full podcast on working with your spouse. I don't think my wife and I would want to work together. Like, she sees some of the calls that I'm on just when I'm taking calls from home, and she's like, "What are you saying?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, what do you mean?" Her corporate world, she works at a big bank, so it's just completely different to the way I operate. At least.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I think it's probably not going to be a good fit for us, unless we find a way. But
yeah, we set some ground rules from the beginning.
I think it's important, right, to know exactly where you stand.
Yeah, have some clear communication, because if one goes bad, everything goes bad. If work goes bad, your marriage goes down.
You don't want that as well.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
Your past and what you've already been through. You don't want to create any more problems.
Right.
And then one of the other big issues you mentioned was bookkeeping. So what are the issues around bookkeeping? And I know, we work with some legal firms that charge a ridiculous amount of money every 15 minutes of conversations or action. So
it could get really expensive.
Very quickly, yeah. So how is bookkeeping causing you an issue in your business?
So it started with our CRM system. I think having a really good, dependable CRM system is important. So we used a system that was more dedicated for personal injury law firms.
Okay, specific legal type software.
A legal software, but it was more for contingency cases. Okay. So divorce cases are hourly cases. We take a retainer up front, we bill against it, and then we send out invoices on a monthly basis. Contingency cases like personal injury, they don't send any invoices. They work on the case, and then if they collect at the end, then they cut a check.
It's a long cycle of cash flow, right?
But it's a big check that the client gets at the end. So that CRM was my friend, who was a PI law firm owner, referred it to me. She loves that CRM system. So I tried it, but we tried it for 2 years, and it didn't work because the invoicing process wasn't good. We have to send out hundreds of invoices every month and keep track of it and make sure people are paying. It's a whole process. So we ended up switching over to another CRM that had a better invoicing system. But during that switch, while we were with the first CRM, we had a lot of bookkeeping issues, because the CRM was just hard to use. And then when we did the switch, it was also a challenge to migrate information over to another CRM system. So that caused a delay as well.
So it's really not so much the bookkeeping, it's the software that you pick, right? So it's how do you identify the best software for your needs, depending on the size and what the functionality elements that you're looking for. Versus... And then everything's a knock-on consequence from that. And hey, how do we integrate it? How do we get the information out and in? They're never going to make that easy. They don't want you to switch, right?
Exactly.
So they're not incentivized on that part. But now that you've switched to the new system, are you finding that life is much easier, or what are the benefits of, or the pain versus the benefits of that switch?
It's much easier, but it did take a year to do the whole transition.
That's a long period of time.
Yeah, because we just have hundreds of cases and matters. So with information missing, we need to go back and manually input and fill the holes, and and then take care of the new cases that are coming in. So it was double the work.
Lots of balls juggling in the air.
Exactly.
Fantastic. All right. So with that, we're coming to the end of the questions that I had. So if you can just let people know the best way that they can find you and reach out to you.
Or Instagram is at Yang Law Offices, and our website is yanglawoffices.com.
All right, perfect. So thank you guys so much for sticking around till the end. We'll put the links down below just to make life really easy for you. And hopefully you don't have any family issues. But if you do, and you do need a really good family lawyer, then Elizabeth is definitely here to help you.